You're listening to Brave Girls with Tracy Im, where we choose to empower you to be a better leader, mentor, and coach in the world. We'll share stories of people who have achieved great heights by overcoming adversity and rising to the challenge, all while pursuing their passions. These courageous people will inspire you to have faith in yourself and take bold action. Right here with the host of Brave Girls, Tracy Im.
Episode 36, See the Other Side with Sara K. Daigle. On today's episode, you'll meet my friend Sara K. Daigle. She's a trained neuro-linguistic programming or NLP expert and hypnotherapist living in Portland, Maine. She tells her brave girl story of being born and abandoned at a nursery in Calcutta, India, and subsequently being adopted at 6 weeks old and then coming to America. Sara's the creator of the Unveil, Unlock, and Unleash coaching program, where she works with her clients to remove energy blocks to help them achieve greatness. Her knowledge of the subconscious mind and how it works is extensive, and so now she's teaching others these mindset techniques that she's used to reprogram old belief systems, release negative emotions, and rewire her brain. Sara spent a decade working for a credit card processor, handling accounts for very, very prominent internet marketers. She talks about her personal growth and development path, working with coaches and mentors that have led her to take the leap into entrepreneurship full-time. We talk about the importance of a positive mindset in your life and for your business. An introvert by nature, Sara shares her struggles with anxiety and panic and how she now helps others to step into their power. We talk about her decision to step away from her very comfortable corporate life and move to her next chapter as a small business owner where she's extremely visible. Sara also talks about her alopecia, which is an autoimmune disease that has resulted in her losing her hair as early as 18 months old, and it stayed that way until she was 10. She shares how she's worked to boost her immune system through healthy nutrition and having a positive mindset. She talks about the fear of judgment and how it oftentimes held her back for many, many years. I love Sara's beliefs about sharing your gifts, stepping into your power to help others, and how to see the other side. So let's go and talk to Sara K. Daigle. So welcome to Brave Girls with Tracy M. Tonight I have my friend Sara Daigle from Portland, Maine. She's from outside Portland, Maine, but she's originally from India, and she is a NLP hypnotherapist as well as an online marketing guru, and she has a program called Unveil, Unlock, Unleash, which we'll talk about in the show tonight. So welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Tracy.
Yeah, so Sara, you and I met on the couch at a mutual coach's house at a retreat, and I just as soon as I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, I just love this girl, because you have such an aura about you. You're just such a gem. And then, when we were there, you actually told a story that just was amazing, and I was like, as soon as you told it, I was like, I have to have you on the podcast. So with that intro, I need you to tell your backstory and a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my backstory, it was one that I never really got into with very many people because it's a little crazy. It's a little weird. So, if you already kind of get into the woo-woo thing, then you might resonate with it a bit. But, so I was born in Calcutta, India. I was born. I was actually left on the doorstep of a nursery on the streets. So essentially I was abandoned. We did find out a few years later that it was actually my birth mother had her sister working at the nursery. So it was somewhat orchestrated. But for the most part, I was left on the doorstep of this nursery and adopted at 6 weeks old and brought to America. The backstory behind my adoption and even coming to America was my adoptive parents. They both had like weird visions like occurring, but they didn't really tell each other them for the longest time. They just kept having weird dreams and weird visions and of, an intuitive, something in intuitive nature telling them that they must adopt a baby girl from India. Like, it was very specific about adopting a baby girl from India, and they had completed their family at this point. They had 3 other children. My brother closest to me in age was already 6, so introducing a newborn wasn't really anything that any of them had spoken about, either one of them. So they had like these weird kind of visions about adopting a baby girl from India. My grandmother, who was working like a shoe factory in Maine, was also having her own vision. So all these people had like just come up with these different ideas about bringing a baby girl to Maine, of all places. So they started on that initiative and did all the paperwork. It was relatively easy. I mean, there's usually a ton of red tape, even in the 80s. And about 6 weeks after I was born, I was brought over here. So, yeah.
Yeah, you were probably really lucky
Yeah.
to have not stayed in the nursery that long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely really lucky that I even got the chance to be brought to the nursery. That there was at least some type of connection. I was able to be dropped off there, and then I was actually almost given to a different family at the airport because they almost switched us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because there's another baby who was actually going to a family in New York because we were brought to JFK when we flew in from Calcutta. And they almost gave my mom the other baby. Like, yeah. But she just knew. She said, no, that's not my baby. That's the other one is mine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And you've been here ever since.
I've been here ever since. So I grew up in Maine. I grew up in Auburn. And then shortly moved to Portland, which is our little, busy town in Maine. And yeah, I've been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And you have a daughter now yourself,
I
right?
do. I have, as of right now, she's about 2.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. So how did you, so now you're into this NLP and hypnotherapy work, but I think, if I understand correctly, you were in sort of the online marketing space, working for, I guess, a software vendor or a credit card processor.
Yeah.
Right?
So what I had done, I did for over 10 years. So I was directly in, I guess you would even say directly in the coaching world as well, internet marketing world, because I was handling the credit card processing accounts for a lot of or actually the majority of the big speakers, the big coaches, and the big internet marketers. So pretty much, I can't say their names, but who we consider our gurus and our big top guys, even to this day. I had been specifically working on their accounts, handling everything, even telling them, things they needed to do in their business to make sure that they were marketing properly. So I'd been in this world already for a very, very long time. And it was really beneficial because I got to see how the top people operate, how they run their businesses. I got to go to free events. I got free courses. So for this, 10 years, I just sucked up as much information as I could. But eventually it was time for me to also take the leap.
Right.
Once I started digging into my own mindset, and switching some of those things around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so how did that, and so what interested you about like the whole NLP world, and maybe even explain what NLP is for our listeners who might not know?
So NLP is super interesting. I didn't really have an idea of what NLP was. It's neuro-linguistic programming. So it's basically, the idea that you run as a computer. So you have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is extremely powerful. It's responsible for running your body. It's responsible for, promoting healing, releasing chemicals, making decisions. It's just really the epicenter of our mind. We use our subconscious mind is responsible for, I think it's 99.96% of our mind activity. But in the Western world, we focus on using our conscious mind, which is very logical, but it is fear-based because its job is to protect us. But as we know, when it comes to our mind, is that we jump to the fight or flight response. all too rapidly, because parts of our brain are still very reptilian-like. So still thinking that we need to be, fearful of wild animals and cheetahs and snakes. So we're constantly almost in fight or flight.
Right.
So NLP is more or less kind of using your conscious mind and your subconscious mind in tandem. So reprogramming old belief systems, letting go of, negative emotions that have been holding us back. There's all kinds of different techniques. The same thing with hypnotherapy. So hypnotherapy is speaking to the subconscious mind directly. So you get past, the conscious it's got like this critical factor where it will block information and reject ideas. So when you use hypnotherapy, you're able to actually kind of definitely go into like a trance state, which is more or less just being very, very relaxed. And you're able to provide suggestions directly to your subconscious. So that whole world, when I learned about it, it just blew my mind. I had one of my mentors who is Catherine Zinkina, Manifestation Babe. She had started doing NLP, and I watched her go through all her trainings and certifications and use that with her business and helping people. And so I signed up as well. And it's been so just informative and helpful, just even for myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, even with like your backstory of like, and just, coming to grips with being adopted and what does that mean, and how that may have informed your decisions, or like how you may think, or reprogramming your thinking.
Yeah, and it was interesting because one of the techniques that you do is, you can get to the root of, your fear-based emotions, where your first instance of anger was, your first instance of sadness was. Your subconscious mind has, a record, a memory of, all your emotions and all your events. And you don't really have to dig into, each traumatic event to, have a breakthrough or put it behind you. So there is a technique where you go back and you revisit, maybe your very first instance of sadness, and your subconscious mind provides you like a lesson or a learning, so that you can apply that going forward and release that piece of yourself. And it was so funny. Well, not funny, but I guess just really interesting for me. It went back to when I was in the womb. Like that first instinctual answer, which was from my subconscious mind, was, in the womb. And here I was just so happy to be here in America, growing up here, that I'd never even thought that, even being born, I had those emotions and they might have been affecting me throughout my life. So it's all very, very interesting once you start getting into it.
And then are there different techniques to help you do the release? Or?
Yeah, yep. There's actually a whole bunch of techniques to release negative emotions, to break through. A lot of it is a lot of the limiting belief work and rewiring your belief system, your subconscious patterning, just for habits. There's just it seems like there's a technique pretty much for every aspect of your life. It's something that's being used in the medical field. It's something that's also being used in, the field of psychology. It was actually modeled after psychologists who were getting amazing results, unconventional, but really, really amazing results. So essentially, it's also the study of excellence. In psychology, you look to see what's wrong. With NLP, you're looking to see excellence and how you can model that for other people and to resolve your own issues and to do better in life.
And I guess you can apply that to your business. Is that what you're seeing some of these big players do? Yeah,
a lot of them, mindset. Mindset is everything, whether in your personal life or in your business life. So especially when you get really successful, that's one thing I saw a lot and I heard a lot as feedback was the mindset. Because once you start making money, how do you break through to the next barrier, to the next level? You already have strategy, or you can hire people to do your Facebook or your, whatever ad campaign you may be running. Strategy is really not an issue. You can bring people in for that. It's your own mental, your own mental barriers that you have to get through to get to the next level. So that's what I heard over and over again, that it was always came down to mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like to go from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures to 9 figures kind of thing.
Yeah. Because once you're already making, a ton of money, you have all the, the systems in place that you need, or you can hire someone in to do
Right.
that. So it's really up to you and your mind and your decision making to like propel you forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that you also talked about when I first met you was about your alopecia,
Hmm.
and kind of maybe you could just talk a little bit about that, because I actually
Yeah.
had a friend in high school who had it, and, also has dealt with it since she was probably 14. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And explain what it is, so some people might not know.
Yeah. So alopecia is considered, and they say, but we don't know for sure. There's no, firm um, medical proof that alopecia is an autoimmune disease that causes your body to uh, obviously fight your own immune system, and essentially you lose hair, you go bald. You can have alopecia where you have certain bald spots around your head or around your body. Some people just lose hair everywhere, your head, your eyebrows, your eyelashes, everywhere. That's what I had. So as part of my story, um, as well as my history, was, I came to America with a full head of hair, and at 18 months old, I lost it, and I never got my hair back until I was about 10. So I spent most of my childhood bald. I did have wigs, but yeah, I had absolutely no hair for, the first decade of my life. Then it did start to grow back very slowly. All through my teenage years, I still had bald spots and spotting. It was very visible at times. All the way through pretty much till my mid 20s, and actually even recently, last year, I had a bout with it with a rather large spot appearing. So it's been coming and going pretty much my entire life. In addition to the alopecia, I also have vitiligo, which is the same thing. They consider it an autoimmune disease where your immune system fights off your skin pigment. So commonly referred to as like the Michael Jackson disease. Um, you lose pigment. So I've got lots of white spots all over my body. Very prevalent at times. Right now, I have a lot of it actually on my face, but ever since teenager, I've had that as well. So I thought
Mhm.
when the alopecia got a little bit better, then the vitiligo came in full force.
Oh, now
Hmm.
did your daughter have either?
Yes, my daughter has alopecia. So
Mm-hmm.
the story with my daughter is pretty much almost the exact same timing. She was born with a full head of hair. At a year, we started to notice bald spots and then lost everything, her eyebrows, eyelashes, from 1 year old until probably another year. So for the whole second year of her life, we did end up taking her to a naturopathic doctor
Mm-hmm.
who just gave us a lot of, advice on just eating lots of fats. So it's basically all dietary changes that we made, eating fats, doing some cell salt remedies to rebalance the minerals in our body, and boosting her immune system. When people have autoimmune diseases, a lot of people just go the logical route and think that maybe they just need to keep themselves weak, keep their immune system weak so that it doesn't fight off their body. And that just makes me so, so sad, because then you get sick and then you need antibiotics and whatever else is going to have to be pumped into your body, and that just can wreak even more havoc. So
So it's actually the opposite.
it's the opposite. Or what we found with her. I mean, I don't know if that would be the solution for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but with her, it was we just boosted her immune system, elderberry syrup, cod liver oil, healthy fats. Um, and I would say probably about 7 months after the treatment is when we started to really see hair growth. I mean, we saw little tiny hairs even like a month after, but let's see. She started seeing the naturopathic doctor about a year ago, and now she's got full head of hair. And it's not long yet, but I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was all within a year, and it took me 10 years to get my hair back. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a
Yeah.
journey. I know for my friend, she was bald, had the patches, had the wigs,
Hmm.
and then when she had three children. After she had her children, it went away.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And she's got very thick hair now, and the alopecia is gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was for her the change in hormones or what, but yeah. But she is doing great, and so I haven't really ever met that many people that have it,
Yeah.
and I didn't know really that much about it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. It just seems to be one of those things that can just be, really random. Some people get it. Some people have it for life. For some people, it grows back and then they lose it,
hmm
later on in life. It's just so unpredictable. And I think that causes a lot of people, a lot of hurt and a lot of sadness in their life,
right,
especially if it's something that never goes away. Um, but, we've been really fortunate, and I've just really just focusing on the mindset for myself and even with her,
right, right,
and just being healthy, like getting back to basics, good nutrition, and just boosting your immune system.
right. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget to look at alternative solutions
Hmm.
or healthy ways to, and through nutrition, heal your body through nutrition.
Through nutrition, yeah. Yeah, that would be
Hmm
my biggest takeaway. And I love medicine. I think that, medicine and all the advances we have made is amazing. But I think there's some places such as, autoimmune where, there's just not a whole lot of answers. So
Right,
anything you can do to heal yourself, and it doesn't hurt anything, to
right,
to use nutrition or to maybe use a naturopathic remedy, doesn't hurt anything. So, why not give it a try, give something like
right.
that a shot.
Right. So I know that like you said, you've been working a lot on your mindset, and you're rolling some things out into the world as you're kind of stepping out there as
Mhm.
sort of this coach and healer and, mindset person.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about kind of, I know you've got a couple things that you're getting ready to unveil, and will have been out in the marketplace by the time this podcast uh, goes live. But like, what are some of the things that you feel like you're here to teach other people in terms of your clients, and what are you here to share with them?
Yeah, I think that my purpose is really to help people see the other side. So when it comes to being in overwhelm, being stuck in life, feeling fear, and just not being able to make the next move, not having clarity even on what you want to do in life, or not even you see that maybe that option is out there for other people, whether it's unlimited time, freedom, money, the wealth thing, starting your own business, whatever it may be. Um, people see it as existing for other people, not for themselves.
Hmm
And I just really want to come in there, with these tools that I have, and even just, me as a person and my abilities, just show you and show others that it can be done. It's, you might have to do a little bit of digging in there, do some release work on some emotional stuff. And it's probably going to require some shifting of your whole belief systems that you set up for yourself and that you've inherited and taken on and lived through your whole life. But it's just seeing the other side. What's on the other side of fear is pretty much lies, what you want in life or what many people want in life. But it's just making that leap and getting over to that, the other side. And that's what I've seen with myself personally. I loved corporate. I really did enjoy corporate America and working my way up. And I mean,
hmm
my strongest suit, at the time was doing reports, and as great as that stuff was, that wasn't life changing for me, and that wasn't going to change anyone's life.
Right.
So, I've had this big issue with visibility, and I'm an extreme introvert, which is things that I've worked on turning over quite a bit. And it is even painful for me to even just like be on the phone with someone. Like my
hmm
phone would ring and I would have a panic attack. For like the 10 years I was in the corporate world, I'd just stare at my phone while it rang 3 times before I could get up the courage to answer it. It never went away. So I have found that, and they, it's said that, what you're able to overcome ends up being your strongest gift, and what you can provide to others, how you can help others in that same area. So I just
hmm
believe in just helping people just step into their power, like own their shit, break the barriers, reconstruct some belief systems that they need so that they can make a leap and really step into that power and help other people. I think, the overall consciousness of the world, how we affect one another, is huge. And I believe at some level, everyone is here to support someone else or the world in some way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Well, and I think some people either deny that, don't see it, don't want to see it. But it's the people that are more fully conscious, that have seen the other side, stepped into their power, are the ones that are out there helping so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once you even get a glimpse of that calling, or just see how, even like for the longest time, I was like, what could I even offer the world, or even offer to help another person? And, it took me some time. And as I got over my own issues, I was like, holy crap, if I can do this, then pretty much anyone can do it.
Right.
If I can really step in my power and show up and go on podcasts and, even start thinking about writing books and all the things that happen, just showing up in the world and sharing your message and being unapologetic about it and getting past the fear of judgment, which has been my biggest thing. It's just, and I don't even know who I'm fearful of judging me, people from high school or like, a distant family member. Am I going to be 80 years old and thinking to myself that I didn't take the leap because of what these people thought? No, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want that moment to happen. So, I really, I did the motivation from pain thing. I made my situation, so painful for me that I could not stay in the corporate world and have no freedom, freak out every day about trying to get my daughter home from daycare, on time. That was like my biggest stress at some points, was every day I just like itching to get out of there so I wouldn't be late picking her up.
Right.
That type of stress people live with every day, for 18 years. Well, depending on whatever your kid's age. But, those little things, they add up, and that's what keeps people stuck. And sometimes it can seem like the silliest thing when you step out of the box. And I think that's, the power of, working with coaches and NLP people or whoever, a therapist, whoever it is they have that outside view. Because when you're in your own box, in your own world of perceptions, you delete and generalize and store information. That's just how our mind works. So we see things in our own way, but sometimes we see something as a problem, and when someone else from the outside can help us with that, all of a sudden they can show us a different light, and it's not even an issue. Or there's a whole realm of, ways to get around it and work through it that we're not even aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because we've got those blinders on.
Yeah.
And, we may be letting our conscious mind, the logical mind, steer us as opposed to, or we might have some really bad patterns or emotions that are in the subconscious mind that need to get rewired, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the whole thing is, with our mindset work is, it's not that we're doing anything wrong. I think what it is, when we get to the age 35, 95% of how we look at a scenario, a new situation, a new idea, we don't look at it for face value. We look at it with 95% of our history, our past. So everything that we've gone through in life, all the values that we have about ourselves and about other things, they all come to play when we look at a new situation. So it's never us being with fresh eyes, seeing something brand new, and then making a judgment call on it at that time. We're taking all of our belief systems with us when we look at something. So it's never just looking at something as brand new. Our belief systems and our values and even our identity, which is the biggest thing, what we identify with, is part of, how we experience life.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I know at one point, I definitely suffered from this. My identity was my corporate job until I had a health situation that got taken away from me.
Yep.
And I had to take a medical leave, and I didn't have that. And I was like freaking out because A, I was sick, but B, I didn't have my identity of my title and my position and my paycheck and all that went with that, So I think that happens when people get laid off and, or the organization decides to change and the position gets eliminated, or, if you identify too much with that particular function that you do for that particular organization.
Yeah, exactly. I think the identity piece is what got me out of the corporate world the most. Because a long time before that, I had really honed into like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Even before I took the big leap and left, I had that whole mindset and the whole identity ingrained. So finally, when I kept coming up against situations where, my freedom was being taken away, or I had a boss, saying some dumb shit to me.
Right.
Essentially, that's what it was. I just couldn't take it. And, me even 3 years ago would have been like, well, that's just how the world is. And you're just going to put up with it because it's your job and they're your boss and just going to work through it. But when I had done the identity work, it just became unbearable. And I was like, well, I think I'm done here. And I mean, that's something, and I wouldn't advise everyone to do that. I think, leaving your job and starting a whole new business, without that income coming in yet, it can be very, very stressful. But I just knew it was going to work out. I knew that, I had no choice. So I did it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And you have programs that you put people through. You do private work with people. So I think that's all really, really great. So, and the power of the internet, and you having been in the internet space of seeing people's online courses, seeing people's events, seeing people's retreats, like seeing how business can be done through the online marketing space, you had that advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely, I gotta say that was just probably such a key piece of where I am today. I kind of wish I would jumped at the chance sooner and hadn't waited, a decade to start my own thing. But it's all divine timing. I think it's all worked out in the way it should.
Oh yeah, definitely. So is there any particular book or anything that you recommend to people, like if they're interested in learning more about NLP or mindset work that's been helpful to you?
NLP, the books are a lot of them are from the 80s, so they're very wordy. So I would actually probably look up the company that I use for my my trainings, and a lot of people in my field have done as well. It's Transform Destiny, transformdestiny.com. They are just so, honest and really ethical and just really knowledgeable, because NLP can also have the stigma of that it's used for persuasion, which it is, but there can be ethical persuasion, tools to use in your business. It's not, some people, Tony Robbins does, everything he does is NLP. So some people love him, some people hate him.
Right.
So, you can look at it that way, but Transform Destiny, they've just been incredible for me and tons of other people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that there's resources out there. I think I picked up a book and it was from the 80s and it was very dense. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is really dense. I felt like I was reading a college textbook.
Yeah. Very technical and just really wordy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the finale question that I always ask everybody is, what's the bravest thing that you've ever done and how does it inspire you today?
The bravest thing I have ever done would be coming out on the other side of fear. So really just being visible. So that has been many events, but essentially it is when I made the decision, and one day I was like, what, I've had enough. And I just decided, I'm like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do all the things that, I'll need to do so people can hear my voice. So I was like going live on different platforms, doing podcasts, this type of thing, which scares me to death, and even to this day. But it's just making that decision to put myself out there to the world.
Right. Well, and thank you for doing that, because, I think a lot of people have problems with being visible, not even just being an introvert, but I think sometimes women, and it is people are going to judge me. And, until you do all that inner work and really have the confidence in yourself to say, I really don't care what other people think. Like, this is part of my purpose and my passion is to put myself out there so I can share my gifts with the world. And so by you making that decision, you're going to help somebody down the line, right?
Yeah.
And so all the way from being, your story of being dropped at the door, on the steps of this nursery in Calcutta, and these people in Maine who are having these visions of, we're going to get this girl and she's going to be from India and we're going to adopt her, even though we think we're done our family, fast forward to the experience that you had in corporate and realizing that freedom is one of your top values until it was really compromised. And, you don't have to put up with it, and you do have options out there. And now you're putting your work out there, and you've done the training, and you're sharing your story both on, my podcast, but other podcasts. And I'm just so happy that you made that decision, because you are going to touch people by doing that. And somebody's going to even listen to this episode and they're going to hear something that you said and they're going to say, that was exactly what I needed to hear. Maybe they didn't know anything about NLP. Maybe they didn't know anything about the subconscious mind, but like, you shared a lot about your story and, kind of the training that you've gone through to get you where you are. So you're just getting started, Sara.
Oh yeah. This is just a warm up.
It is. So I'm just so grateful that I got to meet you, and that every day when you put stuff out on social media, I just get so excited because it's beautiful. And I know people need this right now, and they need a guide and a mentor and a coach, and they need somebody who's been trained in it. So I just wish you the best of luck. And if people want to find you, what's the best way for them to find you on the internet? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I do have a website. It's www.sara, SARA, Daigle, DAIGLE.com.
.com. Okay, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes too. So thank you again, and I just wish you the best of luck, and I'm going to stay in touch with you, and I know our audience is going to follow you and look into some of your programs. So thanks for doing the work that you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Okay.
All righty.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. as much as I did creating it. Each show is produced with you, the listener, in mind, as you look for inspiration and motivation from other brave souls as you pursue your desires. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please leave me a review on iTunes. I read every one. And check out my website, tracym.com, for more free resources. You can also join my list and sign up for my newsletter right from the homepage. Until next time, stay strong, believe in your dreams, and go do something brave.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M, and hope that you enjoyed the show. For more information about today's episode, as well as additional free resources to help you achieve greatness in your life, visit tracym.com and sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, dream big, believe in yourself, and let your brilliance shine as only you can do.